Hello out there. My name is Laolu Akonde, and you are on to Inside Sources. Today, I'm skipping my take because I want to have a full discussion with two members of the Federal House of Representatives on the issue of the compulsory voting bill that the Speaker of the House and a number of other members introduced this week. What is the real deal in this bill? We have two members on different sides who will be coming on Inside Sources. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, I'm opening the show with a conversation on the compulsory voting bill that the Honorable Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives and a number of other co-sponsors have tabled. It is believed that because of the importance of voting as a civic obligation, that we have to talk about how to make our people to go out. And so this bill has been introduced and it has attracted quite a bit of controversy. And so to join me in that important conversation today, I have two important members of the Federal House of Representatives, starting with here in the studio, I have Honorable Daniel Asama of the Labour Party, who represents the Bassa Jos North Federal Constituency, a veteran of international NGOs on humanitarian affairs. Honorable Daniel, welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Right. Mm-hmm. And also joining us virtually from Uyo, we have Honorable Mark Esset from the PDP, who represents Uyo, Uran, Isit, Atai, Ibesikpo, Asutan Federal Constituency. Honorable Mark, you are welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. So let's start with Honorable Daniel Asama from Plateau.
Yes.
Now, can you just give us, being one of the co-sponsors of this bill, you know, you are co-sponsoring this bill with the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Mm-hmm. Can you just give us in 1-2 minutes the essence of the bill?
So thank you. In fact, this bill is very important. I think not only to the fact that it's going to address the issue of low turnout of voting, but it's going to shape the entire electoral process once again. I've heard people in different quarters speak about electoral reforms. We at the constituency levels, when we do consultations and town hall meetings, these are some of the things that comes up. People talk about readdressing the issues of elections. I mean, even the Electoral Act as it is, people are looking at stuff in it and they want it to be readjusted in so many forms. This bill is to inform and to feed that cravings of the people. This is not just coming from the blue, but it's coming from the cries of other people in this country. And also, I'll tell you sincerely, the resources that the government puts into doing election and how it always turns out to be a waste, this cannot continue. This bill, for me, is to reshape and reorient the mindset of our younger people. It is not targeted at a particular gender or, let me say it, demography, but it is to generally re-inform and reorient Nigerians about some of our civic duties and what it takes to be actually a patriotic and a loyal citizen. I will tell you, national reorientation of our core values is what Nigeria is needed in every sphere. When people cry out for corruptions, when they cry out for mismanagement in government, it's because people are not being true and loyal to the policies of the country. It's not that the policies are not there, it's just that people are not being loyal. and being truly patriotic. I will tell you, we seek to see a bill that will reintroduce those values to the people.
Now,
Yes.
the bill has passed second reading,
Yes.
and now it's going to public. Is that the next thing?
It depends. It could go to public hearing, but then, you know, the thing about bills like this, we hear from people. The legislative arm of government deals directly with the constituents,
Yeah.
vis-a-vis Nigerians.
Okay.
So we don't just throw things without sensitivity to what the entire nation is yearning for. So
Okay.
we weigh things and we get to hear back to public hearing. We can even reverse back to, we have subcommittees that could be made. There are so many ways you can address a bill until it's passed.
Excellent. Now, before I turn it over to Honorable Mark Esset, who is joining us from Uyo, I want to ask you the question that some of our lawyers, including Femi Falana and Olisa Agbakoba, said that Nigerians have a fundamental human right to decide to vote or not to vote. And I think Agbakoba was even a little bit more dramatic, saying that he would rather go to jail than exercise disloyalty, as you define it. How do you respond to that claim?
So are you telling me now that if I witness murder and I was there when it happened, and I refuse to testify that I witnessed the murder, but I was finally found guilty of the fact that I was there when the murder happens, wasn't I complicit? Is the law going to leave me because I chose not to? There are things that are fundamental human rights, but not when the things are goofing off the law. This thing that we're talking about, fundamental human right, like you said, is the freedom of association, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. You have all that freedom. This is still a freedom to go and choose. Yeah. That's what we are saying. We are not denying you. We are saying you are free to go and choose. Nobody is subjecting you to anything different. Your fundamental human rights have to bask around the policy of your country. Your fundamental human right is not outside the system of your country. The fundamental human right is within the laws of your country. It's within the laws of your land. You don't exercise the fundamental human right outside the law. That's the point I'm trying to make. Your fundamental human right is in the space of the law.
And you don't think that denying people the freedom not to vote, you don't see it as a fundamental violation of their rights?
No, it is not a fundamental violation because it's a civic duty. It's a civic duty. So how can it be? It is a civic duty. It is not just a free will thing. The fundamental human rights are things that are not embedded or enshrined in the system of Nigeria. You cannot say it's your fundamental human right not to go and do sanitation when the government said everybody is going out today for sanitation. And then you sit down at home, you say it's your fundamental human right not to clean your house.
And they catch you, maybe watching
you
TV
cannot
or
say,
drinking
yes,
beer.
you cannot say, if the law is there, and for instance, there is a curfew and they said nobody should be out by 10 o'clock, you cannot stay out by 11 o'clock and you say you have freedom of expression or freedom of association or whatever. You tell me you have freedom of, because it's fundamental human right, freedom of movement. You cannot tell me you have freedom of movement because there is a curfew.
Let's take it to Honorable Mark Esset. What's your take on this on this bill, which has passed second reading, by the way?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. Concerning the bill, I've listened to my colleague. The beauty of legislature is that you have the right to air your views. You have the right to either support a bill, a motion, or not to. But as far as I'm concerned, and my constituency, like I raised it on the floor the day the bill was presented for a second reading, I have a different view. The problem of Nigeria is not the electorate. Is it that the electorate don't come out to vote? The answer is no. So are we coming out with a bill to compel them to vote now? We have over how many millions votes we use in declaring as winners. The electorate are very, very committed to exercising their civil rights. But my problem is, like I told my colleagues, if we want to make a law, if we are really determined to see the system work, let us make a law that will make every vote to count. By the time we make a law that gives the confidence on the electorate, you don't need to compel anybody to come out and vote. We will not need. They need the motivation, and the motivation is in the law. Give me the assurance that when once I vote, my vote will count. And that is where I stand. And that is my position.
Now, the electoral, the turnout for voting, I have, the statistics here. By 2007 election, voter turnout in Nigeria compared to 1999 dropped by 57%. Okay? The voter turnout dropped by 57% by the time we go to 2007. In 2011, the turnout was around 53% of the registered voters. In 2015, voter turnout further declined from 53 to 43%. Okay? In 2019, the turnout went down to 35%. Okay? So you see, and then, of course, 2023, we had the lowest voter turnout when it came to 29%. So I wanted to just, put the facts straight that we do have in Nigeria a problem of declining voter turnout. I want your response, Honorable.
Yeah, thank you very much. There are two things here. By your statistics, you can see the arithmetical progression of the decline in voting. In 2009, you saw it was very high. The expectation was very high. The anticipation was very high that by the time I vote, Nigeria, we're going to put this country in the right path. Every vote will count. We have opportunity to choose whoever we want to be our leader. And everybody were very, very anxious to vote. And when we all voted, what was the outcome of the election? We can all see. We know what happened. Where the woman was compelled to announce the result, whether the people liked it or not. So after 2009, by the time we went into the election, the next election, definitely the interest of Nigerians will definitely drop. After all, the one I voted 4 years ago, did it count? What was the result? And those of us, those who were very eager, well, as Nigerians, we must not just fold our hands. We believe one day we are going to make a change. We went out to vote. And what was the result of the election? Till the last election. So there's what we call motivation. And in this voting, what is the motivation we need to give to the Nigerians? Let our electoral process be transparent. Let every Nigerian be given that confidence and that commitment that when once you vote, I can assure you, your vote will count.
Okay.
When once you do that, we don't need any law to use guns to drag people from their homes, that whether you like it or not, you must go and vote. We don't need it.
Okay. I mean,
let us have a transparent voting process.
Okay.
And you will see the whole system will drive itself.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Marqueset, for your response. Honorable Daniel Asama is saying that we don't need the guns to drive people to vote. And he's saying that if the system becomes transparent, if the votes count, Nigerians will come out. How do you respond to that?
You say if the votes count.
Yeah, so he is arguing that.
Yes, but that's the point. I am with him. I'm with him. It's like between the egg and the chicken, which one counts first? You say if the votes count, then Nigerians will grow confidence in the system. If the votes, there must be votes. There must be votes before they count. Did you get me?
Yeah.
If the votes count. So people are not even voting. What are you going to count? So we all agree. I'm agreeing with him that the system is struggling. We agree. I want to admit here that Nigeria is struggling. It's a struggling democracy, okay? We have exigencies. We have a lot of implementation fatigue, implementation hiccups, implementation constipations, implementation everything. But we need to fix it. And in fixing it, you have to look at it holistically. holistically is you also look at it, what starts, then what? You have to prioritize what to take first. You said Nigerians are losing confidence in the electoral system because they feel that their votes are not counted. I want to agree with some of that because I am a witness to elections. I've seen where elections are not counted well, but it is not absolute. Some of those votes are counted, but a lot of it are not counted right, or a lot of it are counted with exigencies, or they are manipulated in the right words.
Right.
So, but it is votes that are manipulated. People need to vote, then it's counted. So we are all agreeing here that the system has a problem and we need to fix the system. And how do you fix the system? First, tell people you need to come out and vote. Second, if the vote has to be counted, and the vote has to make the true representation of what the people chose. Let me say this. In that bill, on the floor, I read it clearly. The very first paragraph in the introduction of the bill is to make mention in the debate, leading the debate, is to make mention that, yes, INEC is overstretched. We agree INEC is overstretched. In the beginning of the bill, we agree INEC is overstretched. That means INEC itself needs to be looked into.
Right.
We agree that INEC itself needs to be looked into.
It's doing too much.
It's doing too much, and it's not achieving anything. Literally, it's achieving very little compared to what we are expecting of it. So it's not even fair to INEC itself because it's cumbersome. They are monitoring elections. They are organizing elections. They are getting things ready. They're now monitoring the election. They're announcing results. They're doing everything. And now they are going to courts to do petitions, answer for whatever exigencies they had during elections. It's not really funny. Even for the INEC, they're going through a lot. So what I'm saying here in that bill is that we understand that there are exigencies. We understand that there are uncertainties about the system. And that is why we are saying we need to fix it. And if we have to fix it, we have to have an act. We have to have a law that will make this voting happen. And then we will now be sure that the votes are counted.
There's a question that I'd like to pose to you. Because now there are people, such as myself, looking at this bill as a potential shock treatment for Nigerian democracy and our efforts at development. That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it that it's like we are in the ditch, and even since 1999, we've just been digging, we've been going further and further. I'm seeing the possibility of the need for something to wake us up, to give us a root, even if root we are weakening. But just a minute. But I'm concerned that this bill is suggesting that people may have to go to jail because they don't vote. Is there a way that this thing can be negotiated so that people don't have to go to jail?
You see, this is the beauty.
Can we make it a misdemeanor?
Laola,
or find other ways?
This is the beauty of democracy. Okay, this is the beauty of democracy and the beauty of legislation. Okay, I told you there are so many steps into making the law. All I'm advocating right here is that this bill is too good to jettison, but I am not saying that it is perfect. It can go through any scrutiny. You can look at it from, I'll tell you from my consultations to so many people, some are saying, can we put an incentive there rather than a punishment? And some are saying, can we reduce the jail terms? Some are saying, can we even take off, jail terms? Can we put up maybe just financial implications and all of that? Everybody, fine. So like I'm saying, if we even go through public hearing, there are so many things. It can be molded. I'm trying to tell you that it's open. It's not yet a law. All these things can be looked at. All these things can be looked at. But all what we're trying to see is that we create deterrence. Okay. That if a law is passed without any deterrent, it's not a law.
Okay, Honorable Mark Essence, as we begin to round up, what will you say if the law were amended to say that, okay, look, you don't have to go to jail, or just like Honorable Daniel has said, that you can even get an incentive. For instance, if you voted in the last 2 cycles, your son can get a scholarship or something. So if we put an incentive there, if we remove, people going to jail, would you not think, Honorable Mark, that this kind of law will get us to solve the problem of voter apathy and actually fix the Nigerian political crisis? Because when people go out to vote in massive numbers, in my view, it becomes much more difficult to defy them or to manipulate. Your take?
Thank you very much. I want to come from a biblical quote as a Christian. It says, "Seek first the kingdom, and every other thing shall be added unto you." I still maintain my position. It is not the law. We don't need to force people. We don't need to give people incentives. Every Nigerian needs a good living standard environment. Every Nigerian needs a comfortable life. And for us to have a comfortable life, have the amenities we need to make life comfortable, we need good leaders. And to have good leaders, it must be through electoral process. Can we make a law that will give Nigerians the few for now that comes out to vote, that their vote, even if it's 10 million, even if it's 5 million that comes out to vote, that their vote is meaningful? And then look at what will happen in the next election. The number, the turnover of Nigerians that will come out in the next election. My brother, even if we make a law today that if you don't come out, it's not the incentives. We don't need incentives. It's my position, and I stand by it. Make our electoral process to be very, very okay. The last election, INEC told us there's going to be electronic transmission of results. Did we see it? Did we see it? Was it done? Why don't we make a law that will make transmission of results electronically compulsory? Our problem is not with the electorate. The electorate are ready to come out and vote. Our problem is the electoral system. Let's just fix our electoral system and forget about innocent Nigerians that are eager to make a change.
Okay,
so this is my position.
Yes, and of course, I understand your position on the Mark said, and you've made it very, very strongly and very firmly. I'd like to ask you one last question, and then we come to the studio and wrap it up. Good governance, just like you said, that if you give Nigerians good governance, if the results, if the voting counts, and if you do what you're supposed to do, Nigerians are happy, they will come out to vote. So good governance essentially is an incentive. If you agree that good governance is an incentive, why don't you think we can also think about other incentives to make people to vote? I mean, so if you can, if for instance, if we say that if you vote for 3 cycles, this is what you get, and find something substantial instead of the punishment. Why don't you think that is also an incentive?
My brother, I don't think Nigerians need an incentive to do the right thing.
But good governance is an incentive itself.
The only incentive,
isn't it?
If you carry out an assessment now, carry out a survey now, the only incentives 99.9 Nigerian needs to come out and vote is to assure them of the transparent electoral process, and their vote will count. That is the only incentives 99.9 Nigerians are looking for. We don't need another incentive more than that.
Okay.
And I stand by it.
So the other point, and then it will conclude, is that it said that it's a chicken and egg situation. We want good governance, okay? We don't have good governance. But we believe that when people vote, we will have good governance. So which one comes first?
Sorry, is it that people have not been voting? The one they have voted, have they gotten the good governance? That's a question. Is it that people have not been voting? How do people get to position of authority? Is it not true votes?
But okay, I'll let Honorable Daniel respond to that.
So we do respect to my honorable colleague. You see, I heard this from Wale Soyinka once, and I heard so many other people saying that bad people are voted into power by good people not voting. A majority of the vote that we're talking about, if people turn out in mass, they will elect the people they want. When there is the voters' apathy, people just abuse the system easily. You just made mention of it. The election will be rigged easily if people do not turn out to vote. Not to even talk about the economic damage, the economic setback of the INEC the other year, last 2023 budgeted about 355 billion that they needed. And I think about 305 or 306 billion was released for election. And then only 30%. Dropping
of registered voters.
Only 30% of registered, about 29.9%. Only 30% registered people voted, not even registered. Only 30%
of
people
the
voted.
Voters.
Now you go to people's homes and they are playing draft. They are watching football. They are gisting. They are drinking.
They are drinking champagne.
They are just enjoying. I mean, these are potential leaders. These are potential leaders. Tomorrow, from playing draft, he could be a councillor. And he could be a member of the State House of Assembly or a member of House of Reps, and he becomes a president, and then you start crying that we have a bad governance. Because he had learned to be a bad citizen. There is never a bad leader that was not a bad citizen.
I agree with that.
We take it from somewhere. If you learn how to be a true citizen, you will be a true leader.
Okay.
People need, this voting gives you the moral right to yell and to agitate for your leaders to step up their game. I've heard Nigerians said, I don't care what he does, I didn't even vote him. Because, I mean, you can see how nonchalant we are.
Yeah.
All we are trying to say, in my beginning, in my openings, I made mention of national reorientation. We need to have Nigeria at heart. But institutions are developed so characters can be built and discipline be inculcated.
Right.
That's why institutions are built. So we are building an institution that will bring character into people, that will make you patriotic, regardless. So what I will tell my honorable is this. You are trying to tell me that if everybody is doing the wrong thing, I will also do the wrong thing. If everybody is doing the right thing before, I will also do the right thing. Because the leaders or the people you are putting at head and saying they are doing wrong, they are not doing right, you too will do wrong and sit and not vote. It's like you are in a boat and the boat is capsized, is sinking, and you are breaking and you're piercing holes in the boat the more. You will all capsize. So what I'm trying to say is that we cannot continue to go that way because people are not doing it. And let me correct one uncertainty here. Nigerians need to know that we are not lacking in policies in this country. We have some of the good and some of the best policies around the world. Our problem always in this country is implementation of policies. And number one culprit of the deficiency of implementation of policies is mindset, paradigm shift, is patriotism. It's Nigerians needing to remember that this is the only country we have and it has to work. And when you hear them say, our leaders are bad, our leaders are bad. Nobody was born a leader. They grew up in a neighborhood. They grew up somewhere and they picked up habits somewhere, and now they are leaders and they've come with those baggages into the offices they are leading.
Right.
If he has learned how to pick meat in his mother's pot, he will come and dip his hand into the government coffers because he has learned how to pick meat from his mother's pot.
Yeah.
These habits we need to redress. We cannot continue to sit back because INEC is not able to do the counting the way we want it, and then we will say that now we will give up on the system. Now, if we continue like that, my honorable member and other Nigerians, by the next 3 elections, there will be nobody coming out to vote.
Anyway.
And then anybody now will become the president.
Thank you. Yeah.
So until we come out and vote, we cannot choose the right people.
Thank you.
And until we come out and vote in mass, the election could be rigged easily.
Thank you.
And the law is flexible. We can still amend and realign the law, but I think there should be law to guide people. We are social people, we are social animals. There must be laws to guide us.
Thank you.
And other countries have done this, Australia, Belgium, Egypt, and they're all doing well. And there are exceptions. I need to say this very clear. There are exceptions. If you're sick, or you are outside the country, you've traveled, or you're in diaspora, or you have religious obligation not to vote, or any other reasons that we could not foresee here, that is this in this line, you are exempted. It's not draconian.
Okay.
You can be exempted if, if good reasons are placed in right perspective.
Thank you so much, Honorable Daniel Asama.
Thank you.
And Honorable Mark Essett. You know, you guys are going to continue the debate effectively on the floor of the Federal House of Representatives.
Yes.
But, you know, what we are trying to do is to bring it out for the Nigerian people to see the merits and the demerits. I must say, you know, for purposes of full disclosure, that I am looking at this bill and I'm trying to figure out how is it that we can make it work. Because I have no doubt in my mind that Nigeria is in a ditch and we won't get out of that ditch if we don't have a shock treatment. And like you said, this might be a shock treatment to enforce our patriotism. Thank you so much, Honorable Daniel Asama, for coming to Inside Sources. And thank you so much, Honorable Mark Essett, also for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you.
And there
Thank
you have
you very much.
Thank you. And there you have it, Inside Sources. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. In this segment, I want to have a conversation with somebody who has been active in the circle of professionals in this country all the way back to the early 90s when we have the concerned professionals that stood up for the interest of democracy even during military rule. Somebody who had worked actively with NADECO leaders. Somebody who is also currently the chairman of the Board of Trustees of the South-South and Southeast Professionals of Nigeria. I'd like to welcome to Inside Sources Mr. Emeka Ugu Ojo. My brother, it's good to see you on Inside Sources.
Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah. It's a conversation on the future of Nigeria. And, you know, of course, I know of your pedigree. You know, I know how much you work with NADECO, concerned professionals in the 90s, and all the way up to now, what you do, especially even in the Patriots, where you're also a member. So I'd like to ask you, you know, based on what you have been involved with, where do you think Nigeria is going? What is the future of Nigeria if you look at it today? How does it look?
Yeah, I think I would like to break it down in such a way that, you know, our viewers and listeners can easily relate to what we're talking about. Any country that doesn't have a good foundation, okay, will never actualize its potentials, okay? So it's like people will say leadership matters. Of course it matters. But having a good foundation and a bad foundation is very, very germane to how a country will progress, okay? The problem with Nigeria is that it has a bad foundation.
Interesting.
Okay? So even if you're a good leader, you have to walk 10 times to be able to move from point one to point B. Okay? And that's why it's like one step forward, two steps backwards. So what we really need to do, and even as professionals, is to really look at that the issue is foundational. So
what will you, how do you identify that foundation specifically? Are you speaking of the Constitution? You know, what is the foundation?
I think for any country, the main thing is the Constitution. Let's us always address the Constitution as the foundation of the country. Because the Constitution that says we're a country, and then this is what we're expected to do in this country, okay? Yeah, a good constitution punishes bad behavior and rewards good behavior. A bad foundation maybe rewards bad behavior and punishes good behavior.
So I'd like you to go into a little bit more details. So what should be the elements of those constitution? What should the constitution be? What are the components of a good constitution, which would then be a good foundation that Nigeria needs to have?
I think when you start from the base, like I tried to break it down, a good foundation of the Constitution, something that everybody sees that it rewards good behavior and punishes bad behavior.
Right.
So you now start looking at, you know, what are these good behavior, what are these bad behavior. So then that helps with the Constitution you're going to have. But let me just look at two things that is bothering Nigeria, okay? And that is the structure of governance and the policing of Nigeria, okay? In the area of security, because right now it's said, now we operate a presidential system of government. A presidential system of government is not good for Nigeria. Why? Because of the Constitution of Nigeria. That's why people forget that our first constitution, which is a parliamentary system of government, did not come out from the sky. It's our founding fathers looked at how Nigeria is and were able to come up with a constitution and say, yeah, you know what, parliamentary system, people who are from diverse backgrounds, it is what is suited the country. And it really worked well. The only problem is that the military boys who had the coup in '66, okay, well, I say they were hot-headed. They didn't factor in that systems, you grow, okay, and then you correct certain things and not destroying it. If I want to give an analogy with regards to corruption, say, if when we had parliamentary system, we had 10% corruption, in a presidential system, we now have 500%. Which one will you choose and which one will you live with? It's not that it's corruption-free, but the point is that the system that causes A, B, C, D. And I can always tell somebody, why is it so? Why is a parliamentary system of government less prone to corruption than a presidential system of government? I say, hey, for crying out loud, do you know what it costs you to become a president in Nigeria today? Is in billions.
True.
And it has to come from somewhere, which is your pocket or this thing, okay? People are not going to give it to you the way we are. What does that mean?
The same thing is going to be governor.
We know the result. But in a parliamentary system of government, any politician, the most you spend is for your parliamentary seat.
Which is from your own constituency.
Only your constituency. That's where you're campaigning from.
So the Nigerian professionals, they were active when we were battling military rule. But it seems that the Nigerian professionals have gone to some kind of a sleep. What do they have to do in this quest for a new Nigeria? How can we engage the Nigerian professionals? What can we do to get them involved more actively to change the course of this country? You said now that 97% of Nigerians don't think that we're in the right course, that what is happening is not right. But we have a group of active professionals all over the place who are basically silent.
I think I'll put it in such a way. I mean, that one was concerned professional, but now we're talking about professionals holistically. So you'll be looking at MBA, ICANN, ANAN, Society of Engineers, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Okay, that's part of the things we're beginning at. Let us now focus on how do we have a good foundation for Nigeria as professionals. What roles are we going to play? So these ideas of knowing that the Constitution is important, then professionals have to play their role in terms of educating the people. And also we expect in the next State Assembly and National Assembly, professionals, okay, good ones who are going to be sent by their people, but your people can only send you if you're a good one. Okay, not because you're an engineer or you're a lawyer, or you're somebody who doesn't see white and call it black,
and it's part-time,
or collect money from your clients and don't do anything. So they know the good ones. Okay, I say, yeah, you are going to go and represent us, but they have to be. Right now, their activeness should be in terms of sensitization, mobilizing. Say, we can do this in this way. Okay. Non-partisan manner, nobody should deceive you, no distraction, we are in it together. The politicians who are the beneficiaries of the system will want to fight back.
Exactly.
But the professionals, if they come together, it's their responsibility to fight back against the... But it's unfortunate, some of the politicians are my good friends, but then you don't single out anybody. I don't blame them, it is the system that produces it. So that's why I don't blame any of the politicians on how they behave. You have to dismantle that system so that, if you have garbage, you have garbage out, okay? So the important thing is to now put in a system that will ensure that we can select good people to be in different places. That's the bottom line. Because when you have that, it solves half of the problem. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Emeka Ugu Ojo, for coming to Inside Sources. And thank you for your work as a professional, a social entrepreneur. And this work that you are doing with the Patriots, which has a lot of us, developing great expectations. And thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you, Lolo, for having me. I think it's the fruits, I think my being here is the fruit of our relationship when we were working with my former co-mate when he was a vice president. So at least, we'll have this relationship, and I'm very glad to be
Thank you so much.
Your program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your contribution to national development.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. We are going into a segment because indeed today is the Africa Day of the African Union. So we need to get into a bit of what that is all about. To join me in that important conversation, I have a leading Nigerian scholar who is an associate professor from the University of Uyo and who is also the president of the Pan-African Dialogue Institute in that university. And also, by the way, is the director of the Center for Deep Dialogue and Cultural Thinking. I'd like to welcome to Inside Sources Dr. Effiong Joseph Udo.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Excellent, excellent. I think a very good way to start this idea of Pan-African Day is to ask you, you are the expert. What is supposed to be the response of African countries to this new American foreign policy led by what it has been called President Trump Part 2. How best do we, should we respond as a continent or should we respond as individual countries? Look at what happened last week in the White House, the kind of treatment that the South African President Ramaphosa got. Some people said that he held down the thing very well. Some said that he didn't. Now, what do you think should be the response of African people, even Nigeria, to this Trumpian age, if you can say?
Absolutely. We are in a Trumpian age indeed. And of course, you know that whatever happens in America, of course, it is said that when America sneezes, everywhere will catch cold.
We should terminate that.
So it is quite amusing, of course, to see that Trump Part 2 is emphasizing American first. Yeah. The American priority should also be, taken to be on the continent to be African first, African priority.
Right.
You see, it is important that we do not either denigrate the fact that people love their countries and love who they are, the same way we Africans must learn to love who we are as Africans, love our continent, love our various countries. So that speaks to patriotism. With regards to, let's call it an embarrassment, if you like. Some people take it as an embarrassment. The African leader of the White House, I wouldn't call it an embarrassment. It's an opportunity.
You're talking of Cyril Ramaphosa.
Yeah, President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, at the White House, and how he was, bombarded with the whole allegation of
ambushed,
the allegation of the white genocide. Okay, now I also recognize the fact that the President Ramaphosa did well. Of course, that is not what he went there for. He went there to talk about trade and the policies that President Trump has come up with, okay? Right. He tried to take him back to that, okay? The issue is that we are aware that President Trump may not have been fully guided. As a matter of fact, the whole concept of white genocide in South Africa is a kind of let's call it a theory. This theory from right is a theory that is sponsored by France.
A conspiracy?
It's a conspiracy theory that is sponsored, that has been bought by him. Okay. And that is the reason why it was like very difficult for the President Ramaphosa to, handle that. Now, how many African farmers suffer from that kind of killing? And how many years, talk about the years of apartheid, and how the white took a lot of advantage or had a lot of advantages. Okay, now that try to see how to balance things up, it now becomes like an issue. So that's about that. I would like to end by saying that, look, American President Trump and his policies should be a kind of impetus for us to also love our continent and love our people.
Excellent. So which is a good way to segue it. So what is the role, what ought to be the role of Nigeria in this idea of Africa, loving itself? I remember that late Madiba, the great man, Nelson Mandela, had said that if Africa was going to come out of age, it's going to be Nigeria leading. So I know that you do quite a bit of work in Pan-Africanism and all of that. Is Nigeria holding down the African continent?
In a sense, Nigeria is not coming up very strongly as it used to be. But I know that Nigeria is a big weight when it comes to Africa. I mean, in all ramifications. If you talk about our demographics, you'll discover that in terms of the population, we are the biggest, all right? You have over 220, million people. And in terms of economy as well, our GDP, of course, we settle between South Africa, Egypt, and Nigeria. Sometimes other countries, will come up. But again, too, intellectually, that Nigerians are in the forefront. Over the years, Nigeria has been the big brother, so-called giant, of Africa, helping out in different dimensions and in different areas in the African continent. And so, when it comes to this historical consciousness of Pan-Africanism, Nigeria is not doing well. Now, when you want to talk about this, that Pan-Africanism, people say, is a movement that unites African people globally, right? All right, worldwide. Now, but that unity has a history behind that. Behind unity, there is a big history. The earliest Pan-Africanists, people like Kwame Nkrumah, and so on and so forth, wanted Africans to unite.
Yeah, I think he even toyed with the idea of one country.
of one country, to have one military, to have one. We regard that as a radical school of Pan-Africanism. Right. What we are doing today in our institute is the dialogue approach to Pan-Africanism. Okay.
So tell us about your institute. The Pan-African Dialogue Institute. What's it all about, and what do you guys do?
Now, the Pan-African Dialogue Institute is an international think tank, a think tank of African academics, a think tank of African professionals, whichever field of you find yourself, a think tank of African students globally, a think tank of African civil society leaders, grassroots movement, organizers, and so on, coming together for the study, the promotion and propagation and the practice of Pan-Africanism.
Interesting.
Yes. So we say we want to study Pan-Africanism because it has not been studied. And people just mention Pan-Africanism in passing or whatever. What is it about? Who are the people, who are the icons that should, people need models. We need
that we inspire them.
To inspire them and so on and so forth. You see that we need to study them by way of being intentional in educational system, embracing this. Not just anyhow, because for you to, come to terms with the historical consciousness of this movement, it must be studied, consistently by our young people. Our young people will grow up to be dignified, to know that they are people that no one can toy with.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I was talking about Pan-Africanism.
Yes.
It is a movement that unifies
All black people.
all black people everywhere. But the point is that, I agree with that. For me, I would describe Pan-Africanism with at least 3 words.
Okay.
Number one, it is a struggle, it is a response, and it is a celebration.
Are we going to continue to hold other people responsible for our own delay? Does the Pan-Africanism of which you speak, does it recognize, that we have to take responsibility for our own destiny?
Excellent question. One of the core principles of Pan-Africanism is self-determination. That we do not have to begin to, shift, blames on people for your underdevelopment and things. And in fact, somebody said, I think it was one white scholar, I said, well, you people are complaining of being colonized. And yeah, because you are colonizable. Colonizable. You are colonizable. Yeah, we colonize you because you are colonizable. Now, the point...
You feel like knocking him in the head.
I tell you. No, the point is that my people say, in other words, if you make yourself a bicycle, then they will ride on you. But that also calls for self-determination, looking inward. This issue of depending on the West for our survival, for our security, for our food, and things like that. Are you aware that Africa, even Nigeria, appears to import more than 70% of our food from abroad?
Yes, sir.
And this is a serious matter. Check it out. The statistics show that most of the things we use in our homes or even eat are from abroad. And so it is important that we talk about self-determination.
Okay.
That we can take our future in our hands. We can grow our food enough for us to feed, sufficient enough for consumption, and of course for export as well.
Well, it's a conversation that we have to continue even in the future. Hopefully, you're going to come back. But I wanted to ask you, so what's the significance of the Africa Day, which is being marked today? Last question.
Africa Day is more than just a date. May 25 every year was proclaimed as Africa Day. As a matter of fact, OAU was born on May 25, 1963. And when Organization of African Unity, OAU, transformed itself to become African Union in 2002, they retained May 25 and proclaimed May 25 to be celebrated worldwide as Africa Day, to celebrate our struggles, to celebrate our triumphs, to celebrate our freedom, whether political freedom, whether economic freedom. I mean, how much we have achieved that. It's a different story.
It is.
But we have to celebrate who we are, to celebrate our human dignity has been, bastardized, and people think because of the color of your skin that they are better than you.
But do we really celebrate it in Nigeria at all?
I mean, the countries, about 9 countries in Africa have adopted this May 25 and proclaimed it their national public holidays.
Oh, I see.
And celebrating in different ways.
Can you list some of them?
Now, Mali is there, Lesotho is there, Zambia is there, South Africa is there, Ghana, and so on and so forth.
Interesting.
But Nigeria, the giant of Africa, is not among them.
It's not among them.
And so we are beginning a campaign, an advocacy campaign by our institute to tell the federal government of Nigeria, please recognize May 25 as a national public holiday. So as to create platforms for us to go back and talk about our historical consciousness of who we are as Africans, okay? And celebrate our dignity and celebrate. By the way, I'm sure you are aware that Africa is the cradle of humankind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm a graduate of history.
Interesting. I mean, this is a scientific fact. It's not just wishful saying.
Yeah.
I can tell you, if it was maybe America or Asia or Europe that had been identified scientifically as the cradle of humanity, I mean, the whole world will not hear anything. Okay?
We won't hear word again.
Africa, we do not celebrate this. We need to celebrate this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Effiong. Our time is fast spent. A very exciting conversation.
Yes, indeed.
About Pan-Africanism and the role of Nigeria in it. I hope that the federal government they are listening to you, and I think you should be drumming it, especially to the people in foreign affairs. To recognize this day much more. And hopefully that Nigeria will take its place in the development of Africa and lead the continent. Sure. Thank you so much for all you do. Thank you for the work you do in your institute. Thank you for your work as an intellectual. And thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
All right. All right. And there you have it, another edition of Inside Sources. Like we always say, Nigeria will prevail. It means that Nigeria will win. Nigeria will win because we will not relent. We will keep on at the issues. And one day, we know that we'll get a break. Thank you for watching. My name is Laolu Akonde. And by the grace of God, I'll see you at the next edition.